Oh, it blew up on me.
Yeah, I got a lot of foam going on over here. Welcome to Movie Boners, everybody.
Welcome to the show, everyone.
Watching you struggle with the tab every week makes me feel like I should invent a doohickey or a widget and go on Shark Tank and pitch this thing that like helps old women open beer cans because they don't have the strength or can't get their little nails under there or something. And then it would benefit you as well. So it's kind of like a win-win, I think.
Damn. Wow. You fucker.
Anyway.
I'll have you know, I've been using a bottle opener to help me with this.
A bottle opener for your cans.
Your little doohickey idea is dumb, and I resent it, and I'm mad at you now.
Well, don't get too mad. I want to do
it would help.
I want to do a show with you. This week, the beer I'm drinking is from another local brewery. That's kind of all I drink at this point. It's from Snowbank Brewing in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Oh, I remember Snowbank.
Yeah, they make really good stuff, and kind of underrated. I need to go back there. This one is called Crank and Brew. It is a coffee pale ale, and coffee stouts are very popular. I love me a good coffee stout, but this coffee pale ale is like really, really good.
Nice. Well, I am drinking a beer from a Texas brewery. Not super local. It's from Houston, from Buffalo Bayou Brewing Company. I'm drinking Great White Buffalo.
Nice.
But like I told you before we started recording, the original beer that I was going to drink and was trying to avoid the tab struggle with, is also from Texas, from Spindle Tap Brewery. And this one is called Heavy Hands, and it's an IPA.
Nice.
So I guess I'm drinking a couple of beers during today's episode. They're both really good. Mm-hmm. They're both really good, actually.
This is double fisting it today.
It's going to be a wild show. I'm going to get drunk.
It should be exciting.
It's a good, you know what? It's fitting because, man, we're going to be talking about a bunch of funny stuff in a little bit.
Yeah. And I have I have a couple of probably expected choices, but I feel like I have several out of the blue, unexpected movies that either people wouldn't have put on their list or maybe have never heard of. So I'm very excited to share this list.
Well, I'm excited for that. I've got, I have a few that you could say are expected. And I've got, for those that know me really well, my list I don't think is going to be a didn't expect that. I feel like the list will be very, this is you.
Yeah. All right. Well,
but they're all funny.
That's good. They're all funny. That's good. So before we get into that, though, thank you, Wandering Lion Studios, for our beers. Yeah. They are our sponsors, and we love them. Go check out wanderingLionStudios.biz or at Wandering Lion Studios on Facebook and Instagram. Really cool guys supporting independent artists like us and like you potentially. So go check them out. Be their friends. They're really cool.
Yeah, they're good dudes over there. Yeah. Check the shit out. It's good stuff. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. And then another fun little segment that we just discussed having, and we will do for the first time now, is
like 2 minutes ago.
Because if you've gone to our YouTube, you've seen that we occasionally put up reviews of new movies that go on there. It's not incredibly frequent because it turns out it's difficult for us to coordinate seeing new movies, largely because of me. Dustin is pointing at me right now if you are not watching the video. And it's because, Dustin goes to the theater all the time and I don't really. And so we don't end up seeing the same thing often so that we can do a shared review of the same movie. So to alleviate that and to still be able to share new fun things that we're watching, I thought we would have a segment on the show where we talk about what we've seen recently that was new, give a basic, spoiler-free, obviously, opinion of if we like it or don't like it, recommend it or don't recommend it. And so I know a few things you have seen because they are very popular right now and probably the most popular thing right now.
Yeah, a little bit. Just went and saw Spider-Man No Way Home for the second time in 2 days. Chances are I will be watching it again, probably before I go and see Matrix next week. Spoiler free.
Is it good?
It's fucking awesome. It's so good.
Okay. Good to know.
It's so good. It's so good. And go see it. I mean, the whole world is going to know everything about it in a week. But
that's kind of why I feel like I should get on top of it, is because I know spoilers. And even if it's just like in meme form, will be all over the internet. And
they're going to be coming. Highly recommend. Go watch the movie. Don't let people spoil it for you. Go experience it. I will say it's, this whole year going to the theater, I've mentioned it almost every episode we've had, where like that theater experience is just so much fun and it just enhances the movie watching. I've gotten to watch 2 movies this year in the theater where the whole house was just like feeding off of the film and audibly reacting to it, and just you could feel that. Free Guy was the other one, and Spider-Man is, man, go see the movie, folks. Seriously.
Yeah, I need to. It sounds awesome. I really want to see that. Obviously, I'm going to see Matrix because we're doing an episode on that next. And I really want to see the Zachary Levi, Kurt Warner movie.
Really?
I kind of really do.
Really?
I love Zachary Levi. B, really liked Kurt Warner when I was a kid, quarterback for the Rams. So I'm interested. I like sports movies.
I'm pretty conflicted on the Kurt Warner movie.
Okay.
Not because I think it's a bad idea or anything, and I love Zachary Levi, but the preview looks like a Lifetime movie.
I haven't really watched any previews.
Yeah, and it just kind of like turns me off of wanting to watch it.
Okay.
So I'm very undecided whether I will watch that movie or not.
Yeah. I will let you know how it is, and I probably won't see it in the theater like many things that I do. I don't see most things in the theater. New things I've been seeing. I can't seem to watch anything besides Yellowstone, which is a show, not a movie, but might as well be a movie because it's fucking great. It's so good, and I'm all about it. And then I've just been watching like Christmas stuff, and like I posted on the Instagram the other day, awkwardly B-movie Christmas stuff starring wrestlers.
Yeah, you're the Santa Sleighs.
Yeah.
With Goldberg. I laughed pretty loud when I saw you posting that.
Yeah, it's a good time, and it gets you in the spirit, and
Yeah, prep work for the last 2 episodes has been a lot of fun, but it is the holiday season and the Christmas time of year, so I have been splicing my Christmas movies in, which is always enjoyable, but it has, like this week, it put me behind because I was like, well, I feel like watching Scrooged right now.
Yeah.
Or I feel like watching Jingle All the Way. Fuck you, it's an amazing movie.
It is.
So, and it's crazy. We're like a week away from Christmas at the point of recording right now, which is nuts.
It is nuts. It's especially nuts in Colorado. We haven't had any snow yet, like all year. At least
I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of happy to hear that.
You don't feel like you're missing
it's
out.
my first Christmas in Texas, and there's no snow.
Yeah, it's probably your fault.
And Shut up. It's Texas. But I did find myself kind of like, man, a little bit of snow would be okay. Like just a nice little flurry would be nice. Of course, native Texans hearing this would probably be like, "Are you fucking crazy?"
It's like wishing for the apocalypse.
I know, but I'm like, a little flurry is okay, and it's not that frightening. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, the weather outside would really be frightful at that point.
sorry, native Texans. That's what happens when you move from a snowy state.
Yeah. All right, so you kind of alluded to it. This week's episode, much like last week's episode, is really fun, really funny and entertaining. We're counting down our top 10 satires, spoofs, parodies, farces.
Yeah.
All the craziness.
So I was like, oh man, I'm going to hit my list up with a whole bunch of like fun social commentary satires and political satires. And then re-looking at some of our previous lists, I was like, I can't do any of those. Yeah. So that kind of bummed me out. But then I wasn't bummed out because then I pulled out all of my just blatant spoof movies.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is an episode you and I have been wanting to do for a while because spoof movies are hilarious because they're so dumb and it works so well.
They're so dumb. It's like the perfect genre because it can be so dumb or it can be shockingly brilliant. And it's just there's a special thing that happens. I think it adds another layer of complexity or cleverness, which is what I really like about them. And the thing I noticed this last week, because I was thinking about them and watching them and listing them, is the best satires and parodies seem to come from a place of obviously making fun of something serious, like a art form or a politics or real life or what have you. But the best ones seem to come from a place of sincere love of the source material, and they like it, they get it, and then they use it to make it hilarious or different or poke fun at it. And so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, there is. I mean, like I said earlier, my list will make sense coming from me. But there is one on my list that I know you are going to be like, there it is, because I'm obsessed with one of the, I mean, I love all 10 of these, but there's one that I'm obsessed with.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think you're going to laugh and be like, yep, there it is. When you hear it.
Yeah. I'm very curious. I have several classics on my list. I have several underground weird movies on my list, and then a couple of seriously brilliant movies on my list. And so I'm curious to see mostly your reaction when I talk about them.
Well, this will be different. Like I said, I mean, normally had I not used movies like Carnage or The Campaign already, or like Vice or The Big Short and all that.
Thank you for smoking.
Had I not already talked about all those in previous episodes, they all would have been on my list, because especially political satire, I love politics. Like, I mean, you and I make fun of American politics all the time.
It's the funniest, easiest thing to make fun of and have a great time doing it.
Yeah. But I can honestly tell you, my list is crazy lighthearted and silly the whole way through. None of it's like dark humor. None of it is, it's just, I went full-fledged silly and absurd.
Nice.
I can't wait to hear your list. The way you're like building it up makes me feel like, oh, Jake's going to have the intellectual one and I'm not.
I have a good mix. I have some very stupid ones and some very clever ones.
I'm very excited to hear yours.
All right. So you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's do this.
I believe you go first. I went first last week.
Last time, yeah. All right. So I'm kicking mine off with one of the movies that kicked off this whole mid 2000, early 2000s, mid 2000s spoof craze, but all of them sucked compared to this one.
Yeah.
So growing up, we grew up in the 90s. Mm-hmm. That was like our childhood decade, and then like early 2000s. So a couple big genres during that time frame were like teen comedies and teen dramas, mm-hmm. where everything was high school, mm-hmm. and they were all raunchy. And when you watch them as adults now, you're kind of like, this is gross, but you still laugh at it because you remember, like, I grew up with it, so that's my excuse.
Yeah.
Well, this movie, as stupid as it is so funny because it perfectly makes fun of every teen drama and every teen comedy mm-hmm. that came out around this time. And it also happens to be Chris Evans' very first starring role in a feature film. And my number 10 is Not Another Teen Movie.
Yeah.
It's so dumb, but it's so great. They do the whole trope of like, well, actually they do all of the tropes.
Yeah.
So it parodies every movie from Varsity Blues to Cruel Intentions to Never Been Kissed.
She's All That.
She's All That. That's like the big basis that it makes fun of is She's All That.
Foundation.
Yeah, to the point where like the title character... Put your children away, folks. The title character masturbates to She's All That. But, like, she doesn't have cable, so she watches the Scramble Channel version of it.
Yeah.
Which is such a dumb gag, but I love that gag so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just... Man... I love that movie. Like it just every time I watch it, I'm like, this is so stupid. As I'm laughing throughout the film.
Right. Yeah, there's so many clever gags in it, and it's very referential to those movies that you saw and knew as a young teen. It's so funny. And
we saw all the movies that it parodies. Yeah. We grew up like we all saw these movies. So it's a lot of fun when you're like, you catch the reference. Sometimes they don't even try to hide it. Yeah. Sometimes they just blatantly come out with it. Yeah. But it's just, and you get to see Randy Quaid play the drunk dad who's like lovable, but you fear for anyone around him.
Yeah. You're like, you are a moment from being abusive.
Like, I love the gag of the younger brother and his friends being all determined to lose their virginity by like prom night or whatever, and they're like, "It's our freshman year, yeah. We have time." Yeah. I just all the dumb gags. It just Not Another Teen Movie is one of those spoofs mm-hmm. that came the closest to bringing back that early '90s, late '80s style of parody film. I think it's one of the few that actually pulls it off better than a lot of the ones that came after it. So, yeah. Number 10, Not Another Teen Movie.
That's a great pick. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is. It's built on the backs of some of the movies that we're going to talk about. One of those is my number 10 movie. It's a lesser known, but from the same pedigree as some of the big ones that you're aware of. So my number 10 is Top Secret.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
And yeah. A lot of people haven't seen it. They know Val Kilmer is in it as like a super young dude. And you may or may not know it's written and directed by the same team, Jim Abrams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker, who did Hot Shots, Airplane, Police Squad, Naked Gun. Basically all of the movies with an exclamation point at the end of the title. Top Secret has one of those as well. And it's kind of an obscure thing to do a parody of. So it's a parody movie about like Elvis Presley movies and like World War II spy movies. And it's just so much fun where a young Val Kilmer is like an American rock and roll icon who gets recruited to be this like spy during like World War II in like East Germany and stuff. And it's just so fun. All of the little gags are my favorite, and they're like dumb, funny gags. I'm on the level of like Airplane, but it's just such a fun, funny movie. And I'm always impressed. I love Val Kilmer, obviously. We've talked about it 100 times. And I'm always impressed by that he actually sings the songs in the movie, and he does such a great job at it. He's so funny. I just there's something about this movie that I've always loved it. I just remember seeing the trailer where he's like crawling on the ground and like that base, and then he sees these boots, and as he like looks up, there's like no legs, they're just boots out in a field for no reason. And ever since that, I was like, I need to see this movie. I'm going to love it, and I did.
Yeah, my dad, I remember he was the one that sat me down to watch Top Secret when my Val Kilmer fandom was really kicking in like the mid 90s. And he was just like, oh, if you like Val Kilmer, you have to watch Top Secret. And I didn't know what it was. And he was like, you'll laugh, trust me. And that movie is freaking hilarious. It's so good.
Yeah, it's a classic.
That's such a great pick, Jake. Oh man, look at you go.
Well, thank you.
That's such a great movie. Tutti Frutti.
Yeah, I've been singing that like all week. It's been stuck in my head.
I bet Christy has loved hearing that. Well, my number 9, you already brought up the team that are behind this movie. You mentioned it by title. It's one of the most brilliant parody films because it used a very serious script. And they just changed a few things, but some of the dialogue is direct from the script. They just delivered it in a funny fashion. It's one of the most iconic parody films of all time. And it holds up as being one of the funniest movies ever. Also, shockingly, how it was rated PG. Man, the 80s were a wild time, man. But my number 9 is Airplane. It's just this movie's absurdity. Like, the older I get, the funnier I find the movie because it's just such a great, like, it's so dumb. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I think I had it. I definitely had it on my top 10 comedy list, and that's the only reason it's not on this list. The best thing about that movie, every single second there's a joke going on, whether it's the main characters or something in the background. It's the funniest. Yeah,
it's never non-eventful. But my favorite gag in the whole movie, and it's like the most disturbing gag, well, second most disturbing gag, is when he like is telling his story to fellow passengers and they all kill themselves. Like the old woman killing herself. Every time I watch Airplane and he starts talking to her, I get happy. So like, I love the pan out and her legs are there. It's so good. Then he got the guy that almost stabs himself. Oh my God. I love this movie. The inflatable autopilot is never not funny. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar trying to be like, I'm not a basketball. I'm not Kareem. Like, but I have high respect for the movie because as dumb as all the gags are, but they're all super funny. They literally took a disaster film script and were just like, well, let's just make this movie. We'll just
They bought the rights to 0 Hour from 1957 and basically remade the exact same movie and then added like little jokes. They kept so much of the dialogue, so much of the main characters. If you like Airplane, you need to go to YouTube and watch a side-by-side comparison of 0 Hour and Airplane, because it will make you love it even more. It's hilarious.
It's just how brilliant is that? Like, what's already written for us? We'll just throw some dumb little gags throughout the movie, and we're good.
Even some of the most ridiculous things that you're like, oh, that has to be a joke, was in the original script. In the original,
right, it's like the movie.
Everybody gets sick from fish. It's just the funniest thing.
Yeah, Airplane is just, that movie will never not be funny. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's a perfect comedy movie and a perfect satire movie. My number 9 is where I thought you were originally going with your Not Another Teen Movie pick. It is one of the other early 2000s revival of the spoof, farce, parody genre that kind of created a legacy of really terrible parody movies.
Yeah.
But this was when it was still good, when they was actually knew what they were doing. And it also, I think, focuses on a subject that I'm a huge fan of. I know you're a huge fan of. So my number 9 is Scary Movie.
Scary Movie. Yep.
And
yeah, it was really between Scary Movie and Not Another Teen Movie for me. And it was just kind of like, I'm going to go with Not Another just because I was watching more of those teen films rather than the Scream franchise at that age.
Yeah.
But Scary Movie is so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a great... Christy hates it because she loves Scream so much. And I think there are two...
I get that.
There are two kinds of people that when you love something, you don't like people making fun of it. And I totally get that. For me, I love Scream, and I love any reference to Scream, joke about Scream, everything about Scream. So I like Scary Movie because it's primarily Scream based. A lot of I know what you did last summer.
I know what you did last summer. Yeah.
And so if you like that thing, I'm not turned off by making fun of Dewey or the gags or whatever it is. So I think it's really, really fun. The jokes are silly and dumb and very not the most clever thing you've ever heard, but I feel like it works on some weird level. And it's weird to think about the dividing line between Scary Movie is good, Scary Movie 2 is pretty good, but it created this bizarre legacy of epic movie, disaster movie, date movie, all the way down to Meet the Spartans, which may be one of the worst movies ever made. And
dude, I don't know. I remember watching. I don't know which one I hated worse: date movie or superhero movie.
Yeah,
it was one of those. I remember I couldn't even finish it. I was just wow.
Yeah,
but yeah, that whole subgenre of spoofs that came out after Scary Movie, they progressively and quickly just got worse with every new entry.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a interesting thing. Obviously, I have no insider knowledge about the process or anything, but from what I can dissect from the information available through IMDb's cast and crew and stuff, I feel like the Wayans brothers, who made Scary Movie, directed, wrote, co-wrote, all that stuff, starred in. I think they were a key reason it works so well. The original 2, and then I think 3 and 4 were directed by David Zucker, who did Airplane, did Top Secret, did all these movies. Pretty good director. But all those other movies we just talked about, epic movie, date movie, superhero movie, all that, they were written and directed by 2 guys who were on the first 2 movies with the Wayans brothers, but they kind of just split off and ran with this thing. Yeah. And Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer, and they've just made the dumbest shit on the planet since then. And that's their thing. And so I feel it's likely that they're responsible for any terrible dumb jokes in the relatively good movies as well, just based on what they've put out since.
Right. Yeah, the whole subgenre. I just remember after the first two Scary Movies and then after Not Another, like those three are funny.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm a big fan of Not Another. I am a huge fan of Scary Movie 1 and 2. I wouldn't say huge fan of the second one, but it has some very funny gags in it.
Mhm.
The third one, I remember not hating, but kind of being like, oh, something doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't hate this one. And then it was right after that. It was just like, oh my God, these are horrible. They're never going to get any better.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that genre has like gone away.
Yeah. Yeah. It was bad in the early 2000s. It lived on way longer than it should through even direct to video stuff. It's just a nightmare.
But I do have a funny story about Scary Movie.
Okay.
I don't remember what movie my mom took me to go see in the theater, but I remember being in the theater and they played the preview for Scary Movie. And I remember the preview, of course, being a boy, I'm going to remember this preview. It was the opening of Scary Movie, where it was Carmen Electra running through the sprinklers in lingerie.
Yeah. After Ghostface ripped her clothes off.
Yeah. That was the preview. That was the whole preview. Yeah. And I remember thinking, I'm not allowed to laugh at this. I should probably not be looking at the screen. I'm sitting next to my mom. But then...
But you're like, mental note, at some point I have to see this movie.
Yes. But I heard my mother laugh at that opening, at that preview. Yeah. Because they did the breast implant gag where he pulls that out. That was in the trailer. And that was what made her laugh. She probably won't remember this at all or deny it like the guilty mother she was that she laughed at such a gross, funny gag.
Yeah.
But yes, I did make the mental note of I need to watch this movie at some point. And at that age, you're like, how am I going to be able to sneak away, find a time to watch this, figure out how to watch it? And then, like, I remember going to school with kids who were allowed to watch it, and they would tell me some of the jokes in it, and you're like, they put that in a movie? What?
Yeah.
How does a dick go through his head? I don't understand how that works.
You have to see it to believe it.
Which, by the way, that's one of my favorite. Not the dick in the ear part, but the theater scene is one of the funniest parts in that movie to me. Because every time I'm like, man, if The Purge was real, if we were allowed to kill people that interrupt films, this would be what we would all do. Yeah. Yeah, Scary Movie was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Dude, your list is kicking ass.
Your list is kicking ass. What else you got?
I know, but I'm just saying, your list is very fun so far.
I know.
I am very, your list is really funny. My number 8 is also a very famous parody, and it's a very blatant parody of a character in a whole collection of films that you and I are huge fans of.
Okay.
There was no way this movie was not going to be on my list. The first one is just, God damn it, it's just too funny. And it also gave us like one of the greatest movie villains ever, who is also like the perfect spoof villain. My number 8 is Mike Myers' crowning achievement of Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery.
Yeah.
Just like this movie. And I like all three, but that first one is just so well done. It is pieced together perfectly. The whole satire on British spies or spy films in general.
Yeah.
It's perfect. You got Dr. Evil, who is like I just said, I mean, not only is he a great spoof, but he's a fun movie villain. Yeah. He's a good spy villain.
I feel like he became more popular or more common in pop culture than the actual like source villain Blofeld. And,
right.
Like it's
like
crazy. Same with number 2.
Yeah.
Same with everybody.
Everyone knows Dr. Evil and Mini-Me and number 2, but no one knows Blofeld.
Yeah.
Like, come on, folks.
Yeah.
Go watch Bond. So first time I saw Austin Powers, this was one of those movies I was told right out of the gate by my mom, you are not allowed to watch this movie because, again, it had like the preview showed the women, the fembots with the gun barrels and their boobies. That was like a hell no. But I remember it was airing on TBS. That was going to be the first like TV airing.
Yeah, cleaned up.
And the stars aligned or whatnot, and I was able to be home alone and watch Austin Powers, and I remember just being in pain from laughing so hard, and then being excited to see the non-edited version, which I did shortly after, because shortly after that, it was like, yeah, you can watch Austin Powers, I don't care. So, lesson learned, patience is actually a good thing sometimes.
Yeah. Don't give up. That's the rule. That's the lesson learned here.
And when I did watch the actual cut, I was in pain from laughing again. I love the story. I love all of the gags. It's such a great movie. It's such a great movie.
It is a great movie. I am so glad you listed it because I felt like shit not having it on my list. It was like so close to making it, but there were so many other things I wanted to touch on and talk about. And so it just didn't make the cut, but I love all 3 of them. They're all really fun.
And they all serve like a great parody of different sections of like the Bond franchise and all that. They all really do a good job of that. But I think the funniest gag is the names of like the villainous women that he encounters. Yeah. Well, not even villainous, but all the women he encounters, they all have like the early Bond-esque, a lot of vagina. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny.
With like one of the most awkward hot tub scenes I've seen. It's still weird every time when she's like choking on his hair and playing with it. It's just yuck.
Yeah. It takes like things that you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna get sexy, and then like Mike Myers always does, you're like, it's not sexy at all. This is actually super awkward.
This is awkward as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another one of those movies that will never not be funny to me, and I love Mike Myers. It really is like his masterpiece for good reason.
Yeah, agreed. That's a great pick. My number 8 is probably I guess I can't say my first underrated bizarre movie because Top Secret's kind of in that vein. But this movie is probably one of the highest rated movies that made almost no money. I found out this week. Worldwide gross was only like 10% of its budget, so that's kind of funny on its own. But it's rated highly. People like this movie, the people that see it. So my number 8 is Black Dynamite. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh my God, yes! Yes!
Oh my God. So Black Dynamite, if you haven't seen it, you must see it, especially if you're at all familiar with 1970s like blaxploitation, action, crime movies.
Oh my God, Black Dynamite is so good.
It's so funny. It's directed and written and stars Michael Jai White. He wrote it and stars in it. And then wrote and directed by Scott Snyder. So these 2 guys, number 1, black guys, I think that's a large reason why it works. It's just kind of like an interesting commentary and love letter to these 1960s and 70s bizarre blaxploitation films with like giant things of malt liquor, chicks, kung fu, dudes, and so Michael Jai White plays like this detective who has like a vendetta because they killed his brother, and he's just a a badass crime fighter guy who goes around solving a mystery and kicking ass. And the soundtrack is perfect for like the time period. Costumes are perfect. Arsenio Hall's in it. It's just the funniest.
The style of filming that it's done in, because it really is done in that blaxploitation like style where it's that cheap camera work, real like
a lot of
shoddy.
Like,
oh my god,
a lot of like things that look like they're mistakes, but they intentionally put them in because those movies had these kinds of terrible mistakes. It's so like lovingly put together to be accurate that it and also really funny. I don't know. It's just one of those special kinds of movies that everybody needs to see.
Man, I have only encountered maybe 4 people who have ever heard of Black Dynamite.
Yeah.
Like, you never meet anyone that's ever seen it or heard of it. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I'm so happy you put that. It's an honorable mention of mine.
Nice.
I can see it. I own it.
Yeah.
It's sitting in my collection right there. I can see the bright yellow spine. It sticks out like really bad. Oh my God. I might watch that tonight. Oh my God. Black Dynamite is so good.
Yeah. It's really fun.
Oh man. I think that's my favorite movie you've listed so far.
Oh, it just gets better from there.
Oh my God, what a perfect fucking people go watch Black Dynamite. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Hey, that means you can't have it on your Kung Fu list.
True. That is true. It is true. Yeah, Kung Fu's coming up, spoiler alert.
Yeah, in a little while.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't even know how to follow yours up.
What's your number 7, whatever it is.
I was about to say that, Jake.
You don't have any choice.
I know, but there's no good segue.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number 7 kind of really is responsible for kicking off and making popular the mockumentary style of filmmaking.
Yes.
As a fan of hard rock and metal, as a fan of like the mockumentary kind of films and all that, and a big fan of Christopher Guest and that whole crew, This Is Spinal Tap is one of the funniest freaking movies ever.
Yeah.
It's such a good parody on so many things, not just like documentary, like as a genre, but rock bands, fame, when fame doesn't quite go how you expect it to go. It does a great job of poking fun at like the interfering girlfriend in a rock band who kind of takes over things. Like, it does. Oh my God. This Is Spinal Tap is one of the most genius comedies ever. I just like, I love this movie so much. When they're trying to come up with their outfits or stage gags, my favorite is the most famous part where like they have their cocoons on stage that they're supposed to come out of, and the bassist gets stuck in his, but he's still trying to play the song, and when they finally get it open, they've already reverted back to him closing, so he's got to hop right back in. Like, it's such a great parody on all things, but especially like the hair metal of the 80s, it does a great job of making fun of them. And although I'm a huge fan of hard rock and metal, I'm not a huge fan of 80s like hair metal.
Yeah.
Don't at me. It's just not that good. And I think these guys did the perfect job of poking fun at that kind of mentality during the 80s.
Yeah.
Especially like with a career that's kind of always going to be rocky.
Right.
Rock star lifestyle is not supposed to be easygoing. God, This Is Spinal Tap. This was one of those movies where I had heard about so often growing up that it had been put up on this pedestal. And when I finally got around to watching it, I was kind of expecting it to be like, all right.
Yeah.
But dude, I was laughing the whole way through. And one of my favorite details is like a giant no-no in movie making, which is actors chewing gum. It's supposed to be like, don't chew gum, especially when you have dialogue. We don't want the smacking sounds. We don't want that.
Right.
Spinal Tap, they chew gum and smoke cigarettes at the same time. In almost every scene, they talk it. And they don't chew quietly.
Yeah.
They smack the gum with the mouths wide open. I love that.
Is there one scene where they're like doing an interview at like a fast food table, and the guy's like holding the gum on his finger, and the other guy's like, "What's that?" He's like, "That's my gum. I'm gonna put it back in a minute."
Yeah,
because I'm eating right now, and he's eating like on the microphone. It's hilarious.
This is Spinal Tap. I mean, if you like rock music or just documentary, you got to watch This is Spinal Tap, because it does such a great job of just parodying everything. God damn it, I love this movie.
Yeah, it's our first crossover because I love it as well.
Yes.
I have it a little bit higher up, so I'll save some things for that. But yeah, I was in the exact same place you were, where I had heard so much about it and definitely felt like, no way is this movie as good as everybody says it is. I've heard it's amazing. It's on a pedestal, but I feel like I'll just be like, yeah, it's fine. And then I saw it and I was like, this movie is brilliant. It's hilarious. I can't
genius.
It's like the funniest thing ever. So yeah, if that's you like us, still check it out. It's amazing.
It is worth everything you've heard of.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. Okay, my number 7 is a movie that's iconic as well. It's as iconic in regards to modern 9-to-5 job culture as Dilbert, I feel like. And
I know what you're talking about.
and so my number 7 is
now.
What?
I was going to say you made a Dilbert reference.
Yeah.
For people younger than us, Dilbert was a comic strip that made fun of like corporate lifestyle.
People used to get newspapers to their house, and what a newspaper was it was basically a blog on paper. And what paper is that thing that you have to print out of your printer occasionally when some idiot doesn't take an email. So people used to print out blogs on paper and then deliver it to your door on a bicycle. And that's what a newspaper was.
And you had to pay, I want to say it was like yearly or whatever for your newspaper subscription, depending on which paper you went with.
You subscribe to it like Netflix, basically. And yeah, people always got their paper in the morning, and that was like a huge thing. And the best part about the paper was the comics section, where it was a bunch of comic strips, Garfield, Calvin and Hobbes, all the ones you've always heard about, including a bunch of lame ones like Kathy, but they were hidden gems. Dilbert was always...
did suck.
Kathy sucks. But Dilbert was great and secretly brilliant. I feel like if you've ever heard Scott Adams, who made Dilbert, talk, he is secretly a genius, like Mike Judge, who made The Office Space. And you wouldn't expect the creator of Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill, to be a genius, but I honestly think Mike Judge is a genius.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree.
And so Office Space, I don't know. I obviously didn't see it when it first came out. It came out in 1999. But when I did finally see it, I think I was in like the perfect time when I had just started like working, feeling the grind of like life. The corporate culture was beating me down a little bit. I wasn't in a cushy 9-to-5 desk job, but I still, you identify with those people. At least the people working at the restaurant.
You identify with the principle of the 9-to-5.
Yeah.
Of like, you got several bosses all questioning why you missed one non-important thing.
Yeah.
And then you have your coworkers asking you about like, man, I heard that you missed that. What's going on with that? Like the fucking TPS reports.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there are so many like lines in this movie that are just stuck in my brain that I use constantly. TPS reports is one. Every time I interact with a printer and it's not working, I say PC load letter. What the fuck does that mean?
I always found myself like, don't make me take you to a field and beat you with a baseball bat.
Yeah. Yeah, that damn feel good to be a gangster song. Everything about this movie is so great. I feel like, yeah, it's just one of the best satires because it's about the monotony of real life, which everybody really identifies with. And there's so many people that take real life and especially their work life way too seriously. And I think it's important to be reminded to not do that. And the world won't end if you don't have the exact right amount of pieces of flair on your uniform or whatever. Like, even though managers drunk with power believe it will, it won't. Let's just chill out. Just like the main character in this movie is a hero, a legend, and exactly kind of what you need sometimes.
Yeah. If I was like susceptible to it, I would say I should go and get myself hypnotized so that I don't give a fuck anymore. Unfortunately, I am not one of those people. I have tried. I've actually tried. I'm just not one of those people that...
You've tried to be hypnotized?
Yeah.
From a legit hypnotist?
Yeah.
And you're just not dumb enough to
I'm just not one of those people.
Interesting. It means you're a free thinker, probably. That you.
It means my brain just doesn't know how to shut the fuck up.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like we should all be like Peter.
Yeah.
He's the main character, guys.
Yeah, played by Ron Livingston. He's amazing. Dude,
Office Space is so freaking funny. Oh, my God. It's just... I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday. And then, okay, but that's Lestra. I'm going to burn the place down. I could quote Office Space. It's not on my list. Yeah. It's an honorable mention. But it's like Austin Powers for you. Mm-hmm. I wanted it on my list so bad. I couldn't fit it when I loaded these up. Oh my God, Office Space is so good.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm watching that tonight. I'm going to watch Black Dynamite and Office Space, I think. I think both have to be watched.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is how I was with your list last week because I definitely took several of your movies and watched them immediately because
hell yeah.
I was like, I just need more of these comfort movies.
Speaking of, it was in my notes. I cannot believe I forgot to mention it.
Okay.
Out Cold is almost a parody of Casablanca.
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot to read that note. Yes. It is. I'm so glad you posted the comparisons of it. Yeah. Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah, it's one of the weirdest details that the bizarre teen comedy is based on Casablanca, and it very much like Airplane lifts shot for shot lines, scenes from Casablanca as its structure, and then just the rest of the movie is not that at all. But it's so funny.
Oh man. Oh God, Office Space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to rewatch that movie. Oh my God, it's so good. And I just watched it, but I'm going to watch it again.
Nice.
Oh man. All right. I'm on my second. Okay, so everyone that has been listening or watching us long enough know I'm usually still finishing my first beer as we're ending the episode because I drink slow as fuck. I'm on my second one, and this one's got where is it? This one's a nice 8%.
Nice.
Added on top of the, yeah. I should probably drink some water. Nope. I probably should have had a bigger lunch. Fuck it.
It's going to get wild in the last half of this episode.
You know what? Drinking an extra beer is perfect for my number 6.
Okay.
Because going to the pub is a big part of the movie.
Nice.
Enjoying a nice cold pint is important to the movie.
It is.
My number 6, okay. Not only is this one of the coolest and most enjoyable action movies I've ever watched. But it perfectly takes every action movie cliche, throws it into 2 hours, every one of them, and just perfectly executes a good story, a funny story. You already know what movie I'm talking about, Jake. My number 6 is Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
This movie, like I'm always shocked. I know it's super popular. People love it, but it's one of those popular movies where I always feel it still doesn't get the credit it actually deserves. Because it is nothing short of genius. It is so well done.
And it kind of lives in the shadow of Shaun of the Dead, which is...
It does.
The first one.
And honestly, I mean, okay, so I love the Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Coronado trilogy, and I love Paul. Like, they're just some of the funniest movies ever. But Hot Fuzz is my favorite out of all of their team ups. Yeah. It's just, God damn it, it's so good. And when they like film them doing paperwork, but they do it in the style of Ridley Scott.
Yeah. In like an action montage.
Right. And then they recreate the Michael Bay shots. It's just, God damn it. They recreate like the Catherine Bigelow style of shooting Point Blank or Point Break. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This movie is just, and then they blatantly tell you the movies that like, oh no, we're making fun of this one.
Yeah.
By watching Bad Boys 2 and Point Break. Like,
yeah. That's my favorite gag is like the Point Break gag where Nick Frost is talking about how you need to like lay on the ground and not shoot him and shoot your gun into the air. And then when it happens, it's like,
it's such a great payoff. I love like when he throws Yarp into the cooler. And Nick Frost's character is like, "Did you say something cool?" No. Oh, but I did tell him earlier. I hit him with a monkey, and I told him playtime's over. Oh, you're off the fucking chain.
Yeah,
Hot Fuzz is just. Oh my God, this movie is so good. It's so fucking funny. And Timothy Dalton, is like the manager. God damn it. It's so good. The cast they work way too well together. The writing is some of the most brilliant writing. Like, it's intelligent. The timing.
Yeah.
Their timing throughout Shaun of the Dead, this one, Hot Fuzz, and then at World's End, the timing of all the comedy is so underrated.
Right.
Like, I don't think it's just so... God damn it. I feel like you need to learn how to pull off comedy from those guys.
Yeah. Timing especially will make or break comedy, and they nail it.
But yeah, Hot Fuzz. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like, this is just... He kicks an old lady in the face. Like...
Yeah. Yeah. Hot Fuzz was so close. I mean, it is on my list. It is an overlap. It was so close to being in the same position as yours. So we're very much on the same page, just slightly off.
Yeah. Oh.
So we'll get back to Hot Fuzz in a second. But
yeah, we will.
In the meantime, my number 6 is a parody satire movie from one of the masters. I think probably the one we grew up with, Mel Brooks. There were so many to choose from. I chose probably a more obscure one. People may or may not have heard of it, but I love it primarily because of the subject matter it's a parody of. And so my number 6, what? You're interrupting.
I kind of want to make a guess at what it is.
Okay. Go
just
for it.
Knowing you.
Go for it.
So you said it's one of his more obscure ones?
One of his more obscure ones, obviously, not the like 2 or 3 big ones.
Right. Okay. I kind of want to say silent movie.
Oh, I knew you would guess that. Not that one. The other one.
Oh!
I knew you would guess silent movie. That's a close call. Good guess. Very good guess. It's the other obscure one, High Anxiety, which is
all right. Damn it!
It's a satire on not silent movies, but Alfred Hitchcock movies.
Right. Man, I had a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
Damn it!
I appreciate you believing in me that much that I would go that obscure.
Hey, man, silent movie is fantastic. People, you should watch that, especially if you're a Mel Brooks fan.
Ooh, that second beer's kicking in.
Oh shit!
Mel Brooks fan.
Fuck you.
Yeah, High Anxiety is so brilliant, especially if you like Alfred Hitchcock, which I love. You love. Everybody loves Alfred Hitchcock, and you can tell kind of what I said at the beginning of the episode, where the best parodies come from a place of love for the source material. Mel Brooks does some of the silliest gags with the birds, other Alfred Hitchcock legendary movies. I think he parodies over 10 different Alfred Hitchcock movies in here, at least as references. But the one from The Birds, Vertigo, Psycho, those are kind of the funniest ones for me. And it's obvious that Mel Brooks loves that source material as he's doing it. It's just, especially the Psycho scene in the shower, the way that it's shot exactly, but also in a weird, funny way. It's a really funny way, but it's so perfectly edited and exact that you obviously could tell he cared about it, to the point where apparently Alfred Hitchcock saw it, and his only criticism of the film was that in that shower scene, when the shower curtain gets pulled off of the bar, Alfred Hitchcock said that Mel Brooks used 13 shower rings, and in Psycho, he only used 10. So not terribly accurate. And I thought that was funny.
Man, I would say if that's the only criticism you get from the source material you are parodying, you're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. And so it's a fun movie on its own. I think that just the Alfred Hitchcock references for Alfred Hitchcock fans is like icing on the cake. But the actual just story, if you just approached it and said, this is a Mel Brooks comedy movie, you would enjoy it just on that level, because there's a fun story, a fun mystery. He's a psychiatrist that's goes and works with patients, but he also has a severe fear of heights, so obviously you get the vertigo factor in there, and the mystery and the story and the characters is very fun and interesting. And Mel Brooks even said at one point that anyone who's ever rolled a foot of film owes something to Alfred Hitchcock. He's just such a legend. So it's kind of his love letter to it, which is funny to me.
Well, High Anxiety is not a crossover exact, but we do have the master crossover of Mel Brooks.
Have to, yeah.
Which should not be any surprise. But it's not right now.
Okay.
But that is such a great pick. When I was younger, Comedy Central used to play like movies constantly.
Yeah.
Just funny, like obscure comedies. That's where I watched UHF for the first time. That's where I saw Silent Movie. Actually, I saw a lot of the obscure Mel Brooks on Comedy Central.
I think I saw
Men in Tights watching
there first.
Oh no, not Men in Tights. I saw Men in Tights. Like my dad sat me down to watch Men in Tights because I was such a big fan of Prince of Thieves that my dad was like, you have to watch this movie. Okay. But yeah, I remember watching Silent Movie and History of the World Part 1.
Yeah.
And then watching High Anxiety. Like they did a whole Mel Brooks afternoon. And I just, man, Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
Like, is there a higher master when it comes to satire? No. Mel Brooks is the reigning king.
Yeah.
He's just so good.
That's like his thing.
Oh, man. Well, my number 5, I wanted this movie so much higher. And honestly, like, my 5 through 1 can just kind of be on a constant rotational loop.
They're so close.
Yeah. But this is where it landed for technicality. So... My number 5 is a very special movie to me. You were there. You and Chris, you were there with me when we saw it. We happened to watch it on like a super depressing day, but the movie ended up being super amazing. I already brought up the mockumentary style of filmmaking, and this movie I am fucking obsessed with. I wish more people saw it. I wish more people had gone to see it when it was in the theater. I wish it had way more attention because it is the perfect satire on the pop music industry and with like some of the most catchy, offensive songs I've ever heard of.
Yeah, the soundtrack is legitimately great. I listen to the soundtrack constantly.
It's awesome. I find myself singing along to it every time I watch it.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping.
One of the hardest times I've ever laughed in a movie.
Seriously. Like, it's not just that I enjoy this movie. I covet this movie. I adore this movie so much. It is one of the funniest movies I have ever watched.
Yeah.
It's what like really put Andy Samberg into just a whole new like pantheon of comedy for me.
Yeah. The Lonely Island stuff was like legendary as like one-off pieces with I'm on a boat and Dick in a Box and all that stuff.
Like a boss, Dick in a Box.
Yeah. But to make a feature-length movie and it be this good was just kind of like, okay, you did it. You win. Lonely Island is the best. And now you don't have to anymore because you won. Right.
Oh my God. This movie. Like when I put it in, I didn't even pull up to write notes on it. I was just like, no, I have to just watch the movie. It's one of those movies for me where I just watched the film. Like there is no doing other things except for quote it and sing along to it because I can.
Yeah.
Like oh my God, it's so well done. It's so dumb, but it's dumb in the best way.
Yeah.
I love this movie. And yeah, it's a special little place for me because of like the timing that we all saw it, but we're good there. Yeah, when we saw Pop Star, like you just said, it had been a long time since I had laughed that hard and that loud and that consistent. Like I remember when we watched it, that whole theater was not quiet because everyone was just laughing so often, which is why it's so unreal to me that the movie is not more well known or have a wider audience. I'm like, I sat in that room and it was a full house. Like it was a packed house. We were all crying out of laughter because the movie is just that good. Please go watch Pop Star, people. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It is. It's amazing. It's one of the best.
It's so good.
Yeah. And I feel like the Lonely Island should do more satire and parody because that was like kind of their thing when they started. They've all kind of gone on to other things, I guess, greater success than just a comedy.
I was going to say, I mean, their careers are pretty extensive now.
Yeah. They're about to be like the path of what's his face who did like Anchorman and then all of a sudden is winning Oscars for
Adam McKay.
Adam McKay, yeah. They're like the next Adam McKay. So I don't blame them. They're obviously doing very serious, interesting things now, but they were great. Honestly, they
were so good.
They were like the next Weird Al. They were amazing.
Oh my God, the movie is just so brilliant.
All right, so my number.
Can you sign my boyfriend's dick? I'm sorry.
There's a dick in that movie. You just see him see it and sign it,
and it's like the most awkward male nudity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jake. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So my number 5 is, like I said, Hot Fuzz for me was very close to your number 6. It's my number 5. And you said a lot of things I was going to say, but it is for me as well my favorite Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg movie of the Cornetto trilogy. And I love it primarily because it is an incredible action movie. Like the action and comedy in it is great. It perfectly captures that like 90s, 80s cop character and like montage style of all those different characters you mentioned. And so that I laugh every time there's like a quick montage of like just preparing, but it's like the most mundane thing, like brushing your teeth or whatever. And so it's like a gear up scene. It's the funniest. But the concept of taking this like hotshot cop and from the big city and taking him like out into the country where nothing ever happens, that's really funny to me. And then until something does happen and there's like a legit mystery that happens, it's just the best. And yeah, Timothy Dalton is like, he's always has like that perfect villain like thing in my childhood and through my life as like the bad guy in Rocketeer and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so Timothy Dalton in Hot Fuzz is just perfect. And I love him. I love everybody in it, but he kind of stands out as just a great choice.
Yeah. I read a thing with him about filming Hot Fuzz where he said that filming like the big fight sequence in the tiny village.
Yeah.
That whole part, which by the way, that is one of the funniest fight scenes.
Yeah.
Just because of the cliches that it uses, but how they pull off the cliche. It's just funny. But what he said when they were filming that, and the movie in general, but that scene specifically, Timothy Dalton said he has never had that much fun on a movie set since his time as Bond.
Nice.
Since that first time as Bond.
Yeah.
Filming fight scenes. And I thought that was a really cool thing, like to have someone of his caliber come out and be like, that experience was so reminiscent of the fun that I had early in the career when it was like fresh and all that still. I think that's a pretty cool compliment. Yeah, Hot Fuzz is, oh my God.
Yeah, so good.
For the greater good. Did you notice, have you ever noticed this? That those lines are never said just once. Every time the greater good is said, it's repeated immediately afterwards. Yeah.
It's off.
Which I never really noticed until I read that note that was purposely done. It's like, all right, I get it. But yeah, all the montages of the mundane, I love. And obviously Simon Pegg and Nick Frost as a team.
Perfect.
They're perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. We should do a thing about comedy duos or teams because they're great.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
That's not just the beer talking. I'm going to have to drink some water.
But not yet. Is he drinking more beer?
Yeah. It's good beer. So it's called Heavy Hands. It's from Spindle Tap Brewery.
Okay, you are drunk. You already told us that at the beginning of the episode.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You told us about
I didn't.
Both of your beers, yes.
No, I didn't.
You will see tomorrow when you wake up and you're sober and you listen to the episode. At the very beginning, you said, this is the one that I opened. And then this is the one I tried to open at the beginning. And you told us all about it.
Fuck.
So what's your number 4?
Damn it.
You're pulling a Jake during the James Bond episode where
oh my God, I am.
Casino Royale about a dozen times.
Oh, dude, that's fair. I won't argue it. All right, my number 4. We already brought him up earlier. You can't bring up a satire without bringing up Mel Brooks. He is the king, the mastermind of satire. No one does it better than him. It's just fact. This was really hard at first, but then I realized, like, no, this is how my list was going to play out. But number 4, I even already brought this up, is Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Nice.
This movie is beyond funny to me because I'm such a fan of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah.
That Men in Tights is almost the like perfect defining parody. It really is. It hits every note that Prince of Thieves does, and they just add the humor into it. Watching, because I watched a good handful of Mel Brooks this week, because it's folks,
hard to choose one.
Dude, it is so hard to choose just one. And I know you and I usually try to make it so that we don't have like multiple actors or multiple directors on one list.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I had to throw that one out the window. There was no way I could not. Anyways, Men in Tights. Dude, this movie I can quote almost the entire thing. I can sing along to almost all. It's so fucking funny. Like normally I am one of those people where when I love something or I'm such a huge fan of something, I'm not a big fan of it getting like made fun of or ripped apart usually.
Yeah.
Well, actually let me rephrase that. I'm not a fan of it these days because there's not I think the intention is way different these days when people poke fun at or rip into stuff. It's not out of love for the source. It's not out of like just having fun.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the parody mentality these days is just ruining. Let's just see what we can ruin for people.
Yeah. Or it's mean-spirited in the sense that it's like, oh, look how dumb this thing is, or the people that like it are.
Right. And I'm always like, all these people that are ripping apart stuff that people love, like, you clearly can't pull off something yourself, so you're just doing this because you're jealous.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Whereas back then, the parody, like you said, there was always I'm a big fan of this, so I'm going to do it, but we'll do it in kind of a spoofy way. And Robin Hood Men in Tights, it's just fun. Like at no point does it ever ruin anything Robin Hood lore. It adds a funny spin to it, and it works really well. But one of my favorite gags that Mel Brooks does very consistently, I think in almost all of his parody films, actually, almost all of them, the behind the scenes is always shown. So you always end up seeing like a camera crew or extras or the set itself. Like it's always revealed. And that's one of the gags. And Men in Tights does it. It's just like stabs the donut. Hey, sorry about that. Like,
yeah, I was just remembering the one in High Anxiety where they're like the camera's either pushing in or pulling back, and it bursts through a wall or a window.
Right,
it's hilarious.
It's always acknowledged. You know, the opening credits for Men in Tights is like all the credits are burning arrows. And the text is all on fire, and then you find out like it's the village, and the whole village looks at the camera. Stop burning or leave us alone, Mel Brooks.
Yeah, every time you make a movie, you burn our village down with your credits. That joke made me immediately fall in love with it because it reminded me of like Monty Python, which I had already seen, and I was like, okay, I'm in immediately. I love this.
Right, like it's perfect comedy, and all the stupid gags like Prince John moving his mole around. It's little things like that are why Mel Brooks is a genius. And Carrie Ewells as Robin. Yeah. Oh my God. My favorite line in the whole movie from him is him breaking the fourth wall. And being like, but unlike other Robin Hoods, I can actually speak in an English accent. Like,
low blow,
but hilarious. Just because when Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves came out, Costner came under a lot of fire for doing a poor English accent. Yeah, which honestly, to your average American audience member,
it's not that bad.
We were like, oh, it's pretty good, actually.
Yeah,
but
they were like, oh, it's so inconsistent, and I'm like, it sounds English-ish. It works.
I just I remember this was another one. Like I said earlier, I was a huge fan of Prince of Thieves. Still am a massive fan of that movie. But as a kid, my dad sat me down and was like, you've got to watch Robin Hood Men in Tights. It's still Robin Hood. It's still a very Robin Hood story.
Yeah.
But it's done in a very funny, like intelligently funny way, even with all the stupid gags. But, oh my God.
That's a great choice. Nobody can fault you for one of the best comedies of all time, let alone parodies of all time.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can try to fault me, but fuck you. It's my list.
That's right. Which is going to be my argument when people are like, when I give you my number 4 and people are like, what the hell? I never heard of that movie. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't know if you've heard of it. It'll be a little bit of a test. We'll see. Ooh. My number 4 is potentially one of the more obscure movies on my list. Most obscure, I would say. And then things level out from here. And I think it's a good example of a time period where parody was suffering so much. It kind of fell in that later 2000s date movie, horror movie, like all of those terrible parody stuff. And the internet was kind of where parody and sketch comedy even was coming alive because SNL was also suffering. So the internet was cooler and better. And so
back then,
yes, before things fell off the rails. So my number 4 is a movie called Mystery Team.
I have not heard of Mystery Team.
So for those of you who have not heard of Mystery Team, it's a film from the comedy group Derek Comedy, who was, I think, part of College Humor in the late 2000s. They were an internet sketch comedy group with, you will know, Donald Glover was kind of the main person that came out of that. And so there's a bunch of guys from Derek Comedy who wrote and starred in it. It is the feature film debut of Aubrey Plaza, Ellie Kemper, Ben Schwartz, Neil Casey, and Bobby Moynihan, who are all, have gone on to become pretty big names in comedy themselves. So they were never in movies until then. And it's just one of the funniest little parody movies about these guys who, it's a parody of the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, Encyclopedia Brown, all those kinds of kid detective books and media. And these group of friends have a mystery team, where they go around and solve mysteries. But they've been doing it since they were kids, and they became pretty famous when they were kids. But now they're 18 in high school as seniors. They're legally adults and still trying to solve cute little neighborhood mysteries, like the lady down the street had a pie with a finger in it, or somebody lost a cat and they're trying to find the cat, dumb neighborhood mysteries. Mm-hmm. And so they're the most innocent kids, naive, gentle kids who are thrown into in order to get their fame back. And they're trying to keep their Mr. Business alive, even though they're about to go to college and they're adults. And so they take on this case from this little girl whose parents were murdered and try to solve her parents' murder, and are in this, end up getting thrown into this seedy underbelly with drugs and strippers and adult situations as these innocent guys. And it's just, it's a funny movie. You will like it. I know other people will definitely like it. It's really, really funny. They're just, the way that they play it so cute and innocent. They don't really curse. They say cutesy curse words heck and darn and all these other fun things. And then over the course of it, they just things get so serious that one of the guys is fuck. And then everybody looks at him and he's yeah, that's right. I'm saying fuck now. I've been trying it out in the backyard and it works, and the situation is appropriate, and it's just the funniest. It's the funniest fucking movie. You need to see it.
I was just looking it up. Mm-hmm. Everything about it sounds like a movie I should have already seen and known about. And it is rare, so all kudos to you, good sir. Woo! It is so rare that you have a movie that I have not Not just not seen.
Mm-hmm. Not just not seen.
Yeah,
that
works.
Makes sense.
Right, that works. But I've never even heard of. That is crazy rare for you to have that. And shit.
I know you will like it because you like other things. Donald Glover has written a ton of great comedy, obviously acted in a lot of great comedy. He is obviously a great musician and all these other things. So
I do like his music. It's kind of oddly relaxing.
It is. He's like an amazing, I don't know what you call that when a kid is like super talented. I forget, but you know what I mean.
I do, but I can't think of the word. That might be because of the beer. Mystery Team.
Yeah. Check out Mystery Team. It's
I need to watch that movie. Oh my God. Like I was reading the synopsis and listening to you talk about it. I'm like, how the fuck have I not watched this? This sounds right up my alley.
Yeah.
All right. Mystery Team. Well, my number 3 is also one that you mentioned earlier, but it's not on your list so far, or maybe at all. But you know of it. I know that you like it. I know that you laughed at it.
Okay.
And this is one of the earlier parody films I remember watching all the time as a kid growing up. In fact, I saw this before I saw the movie that it spoofs. So when I watched the actual movie, it was kind of weird. Yeah. I was like, well, all the gags aren't in here, but I get where all the jokes are coming from.
Yeah.
I know that you are a decently big fan of the source material, which might be why you like the parody.
Okay.
Dude, this movie, when I haven't watched it for a while, but when I put it in this week, oh my God, it was like watching it again when I was a kid. I was in pain from laughing at some of the gags because I forgot about a few of the little ones.
Yeah.
But my number 3 is Hot Shots.
Yeah.
Dude. I love this movie so much. It's super nostalgic for me just from watching it as a kid all the time.
Yeah.
And then after, like I said, I watched Hot Shots several times before I ever saw Top Gun. Mm-hmm. And then when I saw Top Gun, it was like, oh my God, I get where all the jokes are coming from.
Yeah.
Like, we'll save that for a Top Gun episode if we do one, but
we'll have to.
Like, I like Top Gun. I'm a fan of Top Gun, but
yeah,
I mean,
it's one of my favorite things about Top Gun is how many things are inaccurate as far as the actual pilot program. That part's funny.
And it's just ridiculous. But Hot Shots is so good, not just because it parodies Top Gun so well, but this team, it's the same team that did like Airplane and the Naked Gun series and all that. They do this great thing where they'll splice in a whole bunch of other like very quick like little jabs and little spoofs to other movies or franchises. Yeah. They don't focus on it, but it'll just show up and they'll move on. And Hot Shots does it with Dances with Wolves, which I love. Yeah. Like they do a gag where the chief is like sitting and pondering, very serious and solemn, and Topper Harley, that's Charlie Sheen's character, is having this conversation of like rejoining the Navy, Air Force, the pilot program, and to be recruited for the secret mission. It turns out that the chief hasn't been listening to him at all. He's listening to music, and not just music, but like early 90s dance music.
Yeah.
But they do the little gag where every time a character tries to sit down, they sit on a chihuahua, which yips at them. They pick it up and just hand it off camera. It's just...
Yeah.
But then you get the cherry on top, which is Lloyd Bridges, who I feel like a lot of people past mid-90s have forgotten how great he was and how important he always was to the satire genre.
Right.
But him as the Colonel is one of my favorite characters of all time. Like, instead of a cigarette box that's full of carrots,
yeah, it was like him and Leslie Nielsen were like the guys.
The guys. I mean, on camera, you needed those two in a parody film if you were doing parody. Hot Shots. Dude, it's one of those movies that every time I watch it, and I realized it this week, it really puts me back into that like adolescent mindset, that fun where you just absorb all the physical gags, all of it. It's just funny because it's so silly.
Yeah.
And not to put like a deeper meaning to a movie, but I kind of feel like that's what a lot of us need these days are these parody films, like the good parody film where it kind of brings you back, it grounds you, if you will. Yeah. It's okay to just be silly. God damn it. And Hot Shots is just, I love this movie. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah, it was the same for me, where so much of that movie is so random. It's like it has a sincere like thing that it's parodying, but then it will jump to just another random genre or thing or person or just a silly joke like the Chihuahua. And it was perfect for me as a kid who loved UHF, loved these other things that were just random collections of references and jokes, silly jokes. And I think I saw Hot Shots Part 2 first randomly.
Oh my God.
And I hadn't seen Rambo before that. I hadn't seen all the references. And then I saw Hot Shots and I still hadn't seen Top Gun. And I was like, this is amazing.
Which, by the way, not only is Hot Shots amazing, but its sequel, Part 2, is shockingly great.
Also great.
Because they didn't change anything. Yeah. They were just like, oh, now we're just going to parody Rambo with a whole bunch of other stuff. And guess what? Saddam's back.
Yeah. It's just perfect.
Dude. Oh my God. Yeah. Hot Shots 1 and 2 are great, but the first one is just, it's so, I'm pretty positive if you ask my mom and dad, like, name a handful of the movies Dustin overwatched growing up. I'm pretty sure Hot Shots would be on that list. Not necessarily from my dad, but from my mom for sure. She hated this movie. Yeah. And my dad and I watched it all the time.
Yeah. Same here.
Dude, he cooks a breakfast on her stomach.
That's a weird thing to pull out. That's not even the weirdest thing in the movie, but
it's not even the weirdest thing in the movie, but they do it.
Yeah, he does do it. That's accurate.
Little sizzling belly. I love dude. More people need to watch Hot Shots. It is so good. It's so like,
it's hilarious. All right, my number 3, you already brought it up a while ago, so we'll get back to it. My number 3 is This Is Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
And it is like before The Office made mockumentaries a household thing, a phrase, a term that people actually understood. This did it 20 years earlier with Rob Reiner.
Right.
And I love it. I love Christopher Guest and Michael McKean and Fran Drescher. And I love the little things about this movie, like when Billy Crystal and Dana Carvey play mime waiters. And,
yelling at each other.
Yeah. And when Billy Crystal is yelling at Dana Carvey saying mime is money, like there's something about this movie that's so funny. I think a lot of the reason it's funny is it is a serious parody of documentaries and rock music and everything that you said. But all of the comedy is pretty like quick, dry British style comedy. They're a British rock band. And so you'd think they're just like talking, but if you're listening, there's some of the funniest freaking jokes in it. Like, I love just the conversation about the history of the band where they're discussing all their different name changes.
My God. all the flashbacks to like the previous versions are fantastic.
And they're like, okay, and then we were this name, and then we were this name, and then we went back to this name, and this other person left the band. They took the name of that, so we had to change it. This person died because they choked on vomit.
Every drummer.
Yeah. They died choking on vomit, like you do. But then they're like, well, we don't know if it was their vomit. It was probably somebody else's vomit. You can't really prove it. And so it's just the conversation, the fact that this is a joke band that has a joke documentary made about them, and that they're just like actual good musicians that are playing all the music. That's insane.
So that's a great detail that I think gets overlooked. They actually play and sing all the music that's in the movie.
Yeah, they're actually legitimately good musicians, and not just hilarious.
It's catchy.
People. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of times I'm like, this is a real song. This has to be a real song. This is a good song,
dude. Yeah, I love all the I think what makes Spinal Tap work so well, what makes all of the movies that we've mentioned work so well, but especially with Spinal Tap, is they play their characters so serious and so deadpan. Like, everything is so normal to them. And that's the joke with like the rock star mentality, but they play it with such a like sincerity.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the joke of turn it up to 11.
Right.
But what makes that joke work is Christopher Guest's delivery of him trying to explain why it goes to 11, which is simply just, but it goes to 11.
Yeah. No, we're the loudest rock band ever. We need it to go to 11.
You need it to go that
Most
one
of them
extra.
go to 10. Most of them go to 10. Ours goes to 11.
Well, why don't you just make 10 the loudest?
But this one goes to 11. Yeah. 11 is a bigger number. Yeah.
When he's showing his collection of guitars, and Reiner's character is like, so do you play all of these? Yeah. And then he takes him right to the one that still has a tag on it. Like, don't touch it. We never play this one. We don't touch this one.
Yeah.
It's just stupid things like, Spinal Tap is such a, man, that is genuine comedy. It's so well done.
Yeah, it's amazing. A must watch for any comedy fan. If you've heard of it, you have to have heard of it, but you need to see it, experience it.
Man, I hope people have heard of Spinal Tap. If you haven't, the fuck have you been? God damn.
We're getting old enough that I think it's a generational thing at this point. We need to inform the next generation. Go watch Spinal Tap.
Yep. All right. Well, my number 2. This is the one, Jake, that I'm pretty sure you might be most proud of me for having on my list.
Okay.
We are such fans of movies, but we're not fans of like the big studio decision making when it comes to movies. We like to laugh about actors that sometimes take their craft a little too serious at times or go too far with it sometimes. What my favorite thing about all that is when actors decide let's poke fun at ourselves and the whole business. My number 2 is Tropic Thunder.
Nice.
This movie
is
one of the greatest, smartest, funniest, like, just blatantly look how fucked up our careers are, or like our whole business is.
Yeah.
So I watched, this came out right after Pineapple Express did. And I remember, like, I love Pineapple Express. It's one of my favorite stoner comedies, favorite stoner action movies ever. You and I talked about it last week.
Yeah.
Last week?
Yeah.
Or the week before.
It was on my list.
Yeah. But when I saw Tropic Thunder, like, it's one of those movies where immediately, they made fake trailers that are just the worst things you've ever seen, but they played them off so real. it was one of those movies, and it happens not all the time, where you're like, instantly, you just realize, I'm going to love this movie. Like, this movie will forever be a favorite of mine. And I thought it was going to be a little lower on my list, but rewatching it this week and just kind of like soaking it in again, I was like, man, they make fun of so many things, and they don't even try to be subtle about it. And I think that's my favorite thing about Tropic Thunder is Ben Stiller was just like, him and Justin Theroux were both just, no, we're going to exploit all of the stupidity that comes with this business. And I feel like, as a giant movie lover, to not find this movie brilliant and funny would almost be hypocritical, if you will, or like pure denial. Tropic Thunder is one of the best ever. It's too good. It's too good. And then you got Matthew McConaughey, who's the desperate agent trying to make sure his client is super happy, who happens to be Ben Stiller, who's the action star of the 90s, whose career has kind of been dwindling because people are tired of the same franchise. Right.
And he's trying to make like artistic auteur and taking roles about Simple Jack and all that.
Dude. Rewatching it this week, never have I watched this movie where I've thought so often, like, how did you make this movie? Yeah. How did this movie even get greenlit?
There are so many things in this movie you're like, you could not do in 2021
at all. I love that Jack Black. So one of my favorite things that Jack Black's character is the parody of is such a random thing, but he's parodying the Eddie Murphy craze of like the late 90s, early 2000s, where he's playing like the ridiculous characters, not just the multiple, but like, I mean, he's parodying the Clump family from the Nutty Professor remakes. And I thought, that's such a great thing to like focus in on. And they don't just poke fun at it. They pretty much recreate the only joke that is the Clumps. With that. Which is just big, fat, and gassy. I love that was the joke they focused in on and just basically recreated to show like this bad idea. But you can't bring up Tropic Thunder without bringing Robert Downey Jr. Dude. I don't even know where to start.
Robert Downey Jr.'s character only works because he completely commits to it.
100%.
And how ridiculous it is.
It is. Dude. Like, it might be one of the greatest performances ever. Honestly. Like, not even comedy-wise, but just acting performance. Him in Tropic Thunder is one of the best because it is just so bad. You're like,
it is the exception to the rule, or the exception that proves the rule. I don't know which, maybe both, where everybody knows it is a faux pas to play blackface. Blackface has not been cool ever, and it's certainly not cool now. But if you are as talented as Ben Stiller or as Robert Downey Jr. and you're in a movie with these guys, Justin Theroux and Ben Stiller, it works. Like, it legitimately is the funniest thing you've ever seen. And so maybe don't cancel everybody on every level. Just take it piece by piece. Does it work or not?
And I thought about that a lot when I was watching it, because I was like, of all the cancel culture bullshit that's been going on for the past couple of years, how has this one not been brought up? And by no means, don't cancel Tropic Thunder. Like,
I'm not trying to.
You're missing the point. But that was my big takeaway from him, and it always has been. But it really reiterated it this week when I rewatched it. Was like, he is like, he 100% committed to I'm going to parody a white Australian actor who's playing a black character and went method beyond method by dyeing the pigment of my skin. And then he's working alongside a black man. Yeah. He's trying to talk like he's doing the stereotypes.
Right.
And getting called out
he's
for
so
them.
far in character that he's like, you and I are the same person. Like, we're the, we're
right. He gets called out for all of his bullshit the whole time.
Yeah.
It is so brilliant. And I'm like, it should never get canceled, but I think this would be the saving grace for it not getting canceled is because the joke is so blatant of like the entitled method actor mentality.
Right.
I seriously rewatching it, I was like, dude, I think this might be one of the greatest performances I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah. And it's also the kind of performance that gets better with time because when it came out, I don't really remember there being a lot of conversation about white actors getting cast in color roles. Yeah. But since then, you have people like Scarlett Johansson in like that one Ghost in the Shell movie. And
there's been a lot of like whitewashing talk in Hollywood. And so this is such a great...
that character is always either black or Asian or whatever, Middle Eastern, and you hired a white person to play them. And so this like becomes even funnier because they have like Robert Downey Jr. play a black guy.
Oh my God. Tropic Thunder, it really is it has a bunch of stupid gags in it too, but it is one of the smartest comedies and satires I have ever watched. I just like it. It really blew me away this week because it had been a little while since I watched it.
Yeah.
And when I was watching it this week, I was just like, oh my God. Like, I love every second of this movie. You got Danny McBride, who's the like special effects pyrotechnic on set. Nick Nolte as the veteran,
the consultant.
The consultant, the author of the book. Oh my God, it's such a great film it could not like I had it fairly low and it just kept making its way up because I was like, man, this movie it is too good. It's too good.
Yeah. It is my shame this week that I don't have it on my list because that happened to me maybe 6 months ago. I rewatched and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot how good this movie is. And then I had set my list, and then I realized, like, this morning, I was like, oh, my God, Tropic Thunder, I don't have it. But I love all the movies on my list. What am I going to bump for it?
Yeah.
And so I don't. I should. I honestly should. It's amazing. But I don't.
I got you covered. I
appreciate that.
Let's face it, man. Our top 10 lists turn into, like, top 20 / top 30.
Yeah, very quickly. It's very difficult. My number 2 is I had a mockumentary a second ago. I have another mockumentary right now. My number 2 is What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes! Yes! Woo! I love that movie so much.
It's honestly... This is seriously one of the most phenomenal and brilliantly hilarious movies ever. When I first saw it, obviously I was a fan of the Flight of the Conchords and Jermaine Clements, and that's kind of why I gravitated to it. I didn't really know anything about Taika Waititi as a director and writer, which he does for this movie, but also as a performer. But he immediately captured me as like my favorite character in the movie, and that. So it's if you don't, I've never seen it. It's a documentary about vampires put on by like this New Zealand public access TV or something, and they followed this vampire coven that live in a house together. They're essentially awkward roommates.
Yeah, it's essentially like MTV's Real World.
Yeah.
but New Zealand with vampires.
That's a better way to put it. Yes, that's accurate. And so it's very like fantastic in the sense that they're vampires. They're all different kinds of vampires. They have superpowers. They drink blood. All of the things you know about vampires. But it's also extremely relatable because they're primarily just roommates that have issues with each other and meetings about the house and all of this stuff. And so everybody, I think, gets it. And the funniest thing is all of the different characters and how they're eccentric and weird, and everybody has had an eccentric and weird roommate, but this is kind of to an extreme where they're vampires and there's a 1,000-year-old Nosferatu looking motherfucker in the basement who everybody's afraid of. Even the vampires are afraid of this guy. And so it's honestly one of the most clever things. The style is perfect as far as like the documentary style. It's a unique film. And if you know or like anything about vampires, you'll get so many great jokes out of this movie.
Dude, my favorite gag. No, man, it's hard to figure out which one of these two is my actual favorite because I love both of these gags so much. You know what? No, I am going to go. Okay. So the two best gags, I'll go in order. Number 2, or I'll count down. Number 2 is when they bring the prey home.
Yeah.
And he's laying the newspapers out all over the floor and the couch.
Yeah.
While she's talking to it, oh my God. I don't know why. I think it's just the delivery of that scene as he's trying to like flatten the newspapers out and make sure they're spread nicely everywhere and evenly. It's just, God damn it. That's so fucking
And they're
funny.
trying to like keep their attention and not let them like know they're about to be killed. But you have this super loud crunching of newspapers.
Newspapers.
It's so obviously distracting.
But so when I watched it, the first time I saw it, I mean, I was dying of laughter from the get-go because it is just brilliant. Mm. But their argument at their dining room table where they float in the air and then awkwardly, like, the string work is purposely bad.
Yeah.
That was the moment I knew, like, yep, I'm in love with this movie. Because they just awkwardly, like, sway there and they're like, hiss. Like, they, like, and then they slowly get put back down. Mm-hmm. Just, that is great comedy, parody, satire, whatever. It's great writing to incorporate, like, the awkwardness of all of that.
Yeah, on a, like a physical comedy level.
Oh my God, dude, What We Do in the Shadows. So I'm a little, that'll be my shame moment this week. I don't have that on my list, and I really hate that I don't. Yeah. I'm so glad it's on yours. Dude, that movie is just... We're werewolves, not swearwolves. If you're a fan of Flight of the Conchords, go watch What We Do in the Shadows. It's right up your alley. Oh, yeah. Oh my God, that's such a great movie. I need to rewatch that one. Fuck. So many movies to watch.
Yeah, it's true.
And this is supposed to be going up on our week off.
Right.
We'll get to that here in a bit. Well, wow, we're at number 1 already.
Number 1.
All right. Well, I hinted to it earlier. There was no way I could pick just one Mel Brooks movie. I just can't. Yeah. I was like, it's impossible for me. It won't happen. And my number 1 will come as zero surprise, but it's Spaceballs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I purposefully didn't mention it because I wanted to talk about it later. If you didn't have it, it was going to be an honorable mention. But it had to be thrown out with all the other ones we talked about.
It is the definitive, perfect satire film. It took what's like one of the biggest pop culture film franchises of all time, even when it was still young and still blowing up in pop culture, like, and kind of taking over. That was when Spaceballs made fun of it, which I think makes it work so well.
Right.
Because I think at this point, everyone wants a Spaceballs 2, me included.
The search for more money.
Yes. Oh my God. It has to be titled that. It has to be about merchandising. It has to be like Spaceballs is that movie where when I watched it, this is what made me really fall in love with spoofs.
Right.
Like, I have based all spoof movies off of, how did it learn from Spaceballs? And if I feel like it didn't really learn from Spaceballs, then the movie does not work. Oh my God, dude. Everything about this movie is perfect. It is the best executed. Rick Moranis is Dark Helmet, who lifts his faceplate constantly in the movie. It's just his tie, which looks like our logo, but upside down.
That's a good point. That's true.
Dude. And Mel Brooks does what he always does, where he incorporates like the film crew. He incorporates stunt doubles at one point. He incorporates just all the stupid things like sleep mode or virgin alarm. Joan Rivers plays a droid.
Yeah.
John Candy plays Barf, short for Bartholomew. It is the quintessential satire film to me. It's what defines like how to properly pull off satire while still, like you said, showing fandom for the source material. Yeah. Because Spaceballs, not only does it like I don't want to say rip into, but it pokes fun at some of the stuff from Star Wars, obviously. But we've already brought it up, the merchandising gag. Right. The whole idea of just, how do we make more money off of this is my favorite joke of the whole movie.
Yeah, to dig on George Lucas as much or more than Star Wars itself.
Yeah, it's just, oh my God, it was too well done. I don't know how to express my love for Spaceballs that's worthy of that movie.
Right.
It's just so fucking good.
And it's so, I'm sure for you like me, it's so foundational for our youth. Like you mentioned, kind of the satire you measured everything by is same thing for me. It may be the first movie I watched where I was like, you can do this? You can make a whole movie just making jokes about things that it may help that I got all of the references because I didn't know Star Wars and loved Star Wars at the time. And so I was like, that's amazing. And I love John Candy. I love Rick Moranis. Like I knew these guys. And so it was one of the most fun experiences. And I will love it forever because it's just the perfect satire movie.
So my favorite joke in the film or like satirical jab is the merchandising, but one of my favorite lines ever, and you've heard me say this, is they've gone plaid.
Yeah.
How do you even come up with that joke or that whole idea of where you go so fast through space, you turn plaid?
Yeah, only the great Mel Brooks could come up with that.
Fuck, even in the future, nothing works. Oh my God. It's just so fucking funny. Yeah, Spaceballs
is like the first introduction to like Mel Brooks is hilarious because he's a white Jewish guy who does good racial comedy too.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stormtroopers like combing the desert actually using combs, and then the two black guys using the pick to comb the desert, and they're like, "We ain't found shit."
Okay, I have a funny story of that scene.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So my daughter had just watched the original trilogy, and Force Awakens hadn't come out yet. I think that was still like a year or two away. I think. Anyway, so she knew Star Wars. She fell in love with that original trilogy, which was like a proud moment as a parent. You're like, oh my God, I got to pass down Star Wars to my kid. You'll get there. Don't worry. But we put Spaceballs in, which Spaceballs is one of those movies where you get away with showing it to your kids because your kids are not going to get a lot of the Mel Brooks scenes.
Yeah.
Like they just won't get the joke of the scenes. But the combing the desert part comes up, and it's my dad, myself, and my daughter watching Spaceballs. And that line of "we ain't found shit" comes up, and my dad and I are laughing, and my daughter perfectly reenacts that line. Excuse me. Sneezing. Sneezing on a podcast. Not a good idea. Sorry, guys.
This wasn't on the mic.
Yeah, so like this little young girl just, man, we ain't found shit. And my dad and I, there was no containing that kind of laughter because she said it exactly like the scene. Now every time I watch it, I think of her saying that line when the two guys say that line. Sir, do you think we're being a little too literal here? No, he said come the desert, so we're coming the desert. Oh my God. Did you know the scene where he's playing with the dolls was entirely improvised?
No.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
I couldn't deny Spaceballs a shot on my list. I was like, Jake's either going to have this on his list or he'll omit it primarily just so that it's not quite as obvious. But also with him knowing I'm bringing it up because he knows me well.
Yeah. I knew he would talk about it. I didn't put it on my list. But yeah, I should. If we're talking about foundational movies of my life, it is way up there.
Yeah.
So the movie it didn't make it for me in my number one spot, the least feel-good movie on my list, honestly.
Oh, but shit.
Another shocker, but still hilarious. So a little bit different. And it's a little bit weird because it's very, very, very rare for me to rate a very recent movie this highly. But I felt that I had to. It's really funny, and I think it's also very powerful and important, and I think ultimately was all of the pieces you need for my number one spot. And part of that is because, like you talked about and we talked about earlier in the episode, I love political satire. I think it's one of the best out there. So my number one movie is Jojo Rabbit.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So a little bit of a shock. I'm also shocked when I first decided to do a satire episode with you and decided to make my list. I absolutely did not expect to put two Taika Waititi movies at the very top. That was like I was like, okay, Mel Brooks will be up there. I'm sure that will happen.
Yeah.
But as time went on and I was watching them and revisiting them and thought about this one, I was like, it just had to happen. And so Jojo Rabbit, if you've never seen it, the movie itself is great, but there's more to the movie, I think, than just the film. I think it's incredibly daring of Taika Waititi to put out a movie about World War II where he himself plays Adolf Hitler, well, the imaginary friend of a child who is Adolf Hitler, and to put it out in 2019 when the climate in the world, for those of you listening in the future, back in 2019, when Trump was president, Hollywood was out of their mind with this idea that Trump is literally Hitler, that fascism was rising in America. This movie could have been very simple and very obvious and very boring by making it about kind of that and what everybody was thinking and feeling at that time. And so I think it's especially smart to make it instead about something more real, something extremely true, where it follows a kid who just lives in a society that he lives in Germany and he thinks of the Nazis as Boy Scouts, basically, and he's very excited about it.
Well, he's a Hitler youth. He's a very young Hitler youth. He's being indoctrinated. And his invisible friend is Adolf Hitler, but not just Hitler, like the persona, the
mythification of him.
Yeah, the lore version of Hitler to the Hitler youth. Yeah. Keep going. Sorry, man. Sorry.
Yeah. And so the fact that this kid is being indoctrinated in a kind of a funny way, but he's super, he's a kid. He's having a good time about it. And then he finds this Jewish girl in his wall and is like scared of her, like believes all of the myths about them and all this stuff. And then befriends her. So the adults in this movie are all great. Taika Waititi Hitler is great. Stephen Merchant, Rebel Wilson, Sam Rockwell. Scarlett Johansson, especially as this kid's mom, stands out as unbelievably great. But her and the kids, Jojo and Elsa and Yorkie, and how they're in this German society in World War II is amazing. And the whole movie is fun and like surprisingly fun for what it's about and hilarious. And then it's also extremely heartfelt and serious and sad at the same time, like kind of out of the blue.
Now don't go saying like the heartbreaking moment.
I won't.
But there is a what?
Shit gets real in a way you don't expect, and it's extremely powerful, and then it's very scary, and it's just this kid's journey needing to all of a sudden like grow up kind of and stop playing around, realizing, I guess, what's real, what the stakes are, what people are capable of. It's scary and funny and heartfelt and kind and beautiful overall. And so I think it's just one of the best movies in recent memory. That's kind of that was a big surprise, I think, as far as how good it was, especially considering the things going against it being that good. It kind of overcame that, which is an interesting story on its own.
Yeah, when I had wanted to see it because when they announced that he was making it, it was right after he did Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And then he came out, and like I remember the first headlines were Taika Waititi is going to make a World War II comedy. And that was like, whoa, he's coming off the heels of Ragnarok. You and I knew him from What We Do in the Shadows. So it was kind of like, what the fuck is he going to do with World War II? Yeah. And then you find out like, oh, and he's going to play Hitler. And you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck? But at the same time, I thought like, I feel like I have to watch this movie. I did not get to see it in the theater though, which to this day, I'm actually really bummed about. It's not like a huge cinematic style movie, like for the big screen, but it's one of those movies that I wish when I watched it, I could have watched it in the audience.
Yeah.
Because dude, I'm right there with you. It is one of the, like, I feel it's a very important film, and I feel it's a very heartfelt film. It's an honest movie of like innocence and kind of how people are or should be, can be.
Right.
But without being preachy, which I really love. And I love the journey that JoJo goes on as he's kind of navigating through this world, especially after he finds out about the girl on the wall. Mm-hmm. I will say, like, without saying too much, I will say Jojo Rabbit has one of my all-time favorite endings ever.
Yeah.
It is, like, honestly, when it ended, that first time I finally sat down and watched it, when the credits finally rolled, I was just like, what? Yeah. Like, I couldn't move. I didn't want to turn it off. It was one of those movies where when it ended, I had no clue what to watch. Like, how do you follow that up?
Right.
And I love it when I see a movie where I have that thought afterwards, where it's like, I think I have to just absorb for a while. I don't think I can watch or listen to anything because that was a lot to take in.
Right.
Dude, Jojo Rabbit is, I feel, one of the most important films, one of the best films I agree with absolutely everything you said.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of out of place in a long list of hilarious and silly movies.
You pulled a me.
Yeah. I'm learning from the best.
You totally pulled a me.
So yeah, God. That's our top 10 satires.
And dude, I credit you. Jojo Rabbit is such a tough one genre-wise for me.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's like, it's such a good mixture of very straightforward drama due to subject matter. It's straightforward comedy, oddly, because of subject matter.
Yeah. It's almost entirely funny.
Yeah. And then the satire is one of the best satires ever because of his take on Hitler. His Hitler is like, I want to applaud it. Yeah. It's so well done and it's so smart how they approached it or how he approached writing it. Oh my God. I love Jojo Rabbit so much. Maybe, you know what, dude? Maybe that's one of those movies where down the line we do like a deep dive into that kind of film.
Definitely. I would do that.
You brought up some interesting points of like the timing of its release with like America's political climate being just so, well, I mean, it's always fucked up, but like,
but specifically in regards to that topic,
it was like super, I don't even know if aggressive is enough of a word. It was, our fucking American politics, man. That's not for a movie episode, but it's or a movie show. But yeah, very interesting timing, very interesting subject matter to release. What a tough subject to tackle, going over Hitler Youth.
Yeah, and told in such an honest way, which is kind of just shedding light on human nature and how it's possible to get into those situations where people are susceptible to it, or or see it as a valid option, or just start believing crazy things because of circumstances. So I think it works so well because it's more honest than insane hyperbole that was happening in the real world. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's your list is so good. Oh my God.
I think both of our lists were good.
I mean, I genuinely love my list. Like I said at the start, dude, my list is nothing but silly. Yeah. And that was a lot of fun watching a lot of just silly movies for a week straight. That was a lot of fun. I've had so much fun doing prep work the last like 3 or 4 episodes. Yeah. So much fun doing prep work for these.
Yeah, I completely agree. What honorable mentions did you have?
Okay. Well, you took a few, so Jake's list. You brought it up, I think it was last week or 2 episodes ago. Idiocracy, I think, is such a brilliant satire. The Naked Gun, Blazing Saddles. I do want to bring up a shocker that everyone hated, but I think everyone missed what the main joke in the movie was, and that kind of bums me out.
Okay.
But Anchorman 2, specifically, is such a great satire on current media and, like, the news. I love Anchorman 2 because of its absurdity, but primarily because it just rips into, and not even nicely, which I actually appreciate with this subject matter. It just tears into conglomerate news media mentality of sensationalism.
Right.
I think it's so funny. And then to top it off with all the stupidity that is Ron Burgundy and his fellow anchors. But yeah, the main satire of the movie, I actually love so much.
Nice.
What about you, good sir?
So one of my favorite political satires I didn't have on my list because it was on my political films list, but the death of Stalin is hilarious and kind of dark and brilliant and scary. Probably one of the best examples out there of that. And Steve Buscemi and Jeffrey Tambor and a bunch of familiar faces in that one is really, really fun. And a bunch of the ones that you had on your list, obviously. I will throw out also, though, Zoolander, the first Zoolander.
Oh, my God.
As a satire on male models it will always hold up. It's always funny and hilarious.
The whole modeling career.
Yeah. Yes. Zombievers.
Yes! Yes!
Which is...
Oh, my God! Oh, I wish I was in Colorado. I would give you a hug right now. Dude, Zombievers is the shit. I think I broke my thing.
It's one of the funniest, like, horror parodies of these, like, monster. It's like a monster movie, Lake Placid type movies with these zombified beavers, but they don't even try to make the beavers look like good. They're just these practical, crappy, it's like zombie like props.
It's like 90s Power Rangers, which I'm a huge fan of that original Power, but it's like that style of special effects, but with zombie beavers.
Yeah.
Dude, I fucking love Zombievers. Oh my God. Love that movie.
Yeah. And then, of course, the Austin Power movies, the Hot Shots movies, Cabin in the Woods, which we've talked about 100 times. It will always be amazing, though. And it's one of the great examples of a movie being a satire of all of this other movies in this genre, but at the same time being one of those movies in the genre and contributing to it and extending the lore and making the rest of this genre even better, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it makes every horror movie coherent and part of the same universe. It's just brilliant beyond belief. So Cabin in the Woods, underrated classic. Still, even though everybody talks about it, I talk about it, you talk about it.
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods is great.
It's just so good. It's so good.
So yeah,
I feel like I meant to bring one up as an honorable. I didn't write it down, but let's move on. Okay. I think the beers are really. I had another one. God damn it!
Maybe you'll think of it as we're wrapping up.
Nah, I think it's going to be gone. I think the two beers are mingling.
Well, you know what you could do when you do think about it. You could post it on our Facebook and Instagram. And people can check us out on Facebook and Instagram for more information, more content. We remember things like last week. I remembered the thing about Out Cold, and I posted it there. And so
that was a good segue, Jake. You were like, "Hey, Dustin got drunk during the episode for like the first time since." I got a little drunk in our Bond episode, but that was because we weren't drinking beer; we were drinking martinis.
Strong,
that shit sneaks up on you.
Strong James Bond level martinis, which is stronger than a normal mortal man can handle. That's my excuse.
We're not gods, Jake.
No, we're mortals. That's why we were susceptible.
Oh, okay.
James Bond is.
And you drink a lot because Christy did not want hers, and you just kept drinking.
Not good. Yeah. But the other thing to bring up, this is our last episode of this year.
That's right. I alluded to this earlier.
We're taking a hiatus over Christmas when our normal, that's when the next episode would come out. We're obviously not going to record then. So no episode next week. The homework for you listeners to watch in the meantime is obviously your Christmas movies before Christmas. But for the next episode, we're doing all of the Matrix movies.
Yep.
Which you alluded to. Obviously, we need to see Matrix 4 in theaters before our next episode because we will be talking about 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we'll see how good that is at the time.
Yeah, I am very excited. As longtime OG listeners and fans of our show, The Matrix is a very special movie to me. It was like, spoiler if you haven't listened to the episode, our first episode ever, it's my all-time favorite action movie. Potentially all-time favorite in general, which it's always been kind of like back and forth, but recently rewatching it, and I'm going to rewatch it again this week. The Matrix is just, oh my God, that movie is just on a whole different level for me. Anyways, we've been looking forward to this one since they announced that they were doing this. And I do have kind of a grudge though.
Okay.
The original plan, which fuck 2020 for completely ruining this, because I was so excited for this. Originally, we were supposed to get Matrix Resurrections and John Wick 4 on the same weekend. They were supposed to release together. Fuck you, 2020. You ruined all that.
Wouldn't that be such an awesome double feature to just see both of them the same day?
And I was, from the moment they announced that, I had been so stoked to be able to be like, I'm going to go see John Wick 4, and I'm going to walk out of that theater and walk right into Matrix 4, because I am stoked. Just Keanu Reeves overload, bring it on, bring on all of it. So make sure you go and watch the trilogy, the Matrix trilogy. Go see Resurrections. I know it'll be streaming on HBO. If you don't want to see it in the theater, get that watch because, you should watch it in the theater. Get it watched because, like our other franchise deep dives, we will be spoiling the newest one that comes out. I'm very excited for that. But taking a week off, it'll be a little weird. Yeah. Only having 4 movies to prep for, and I have to, and we got to wait for the release of one of them. So
that comes out in a few days.
Yep. But so in the meantime, listen to older episodes or whatnot. Enjoy your holiday. Merry Christmas on all that good stuff.
Merry Christmas. Say Happy Christmas to your friends and family from the Movie Boners crew. We appreciate you. We love you.
It's been a fun year. It's been a super fun, because we're not going to see, like, the next episode will be 2022. So it has been a great year for us. It's been an interesting year for us. Appreciate everyone. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. Keep spreading the word.
And I'm very excited for all of the things we have lined up for next year. There's already
we've got some. We're pretty much kicking the year off with The Matrix, which is fun and oddly fitting. And just
we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Just with the state of everything the last couple of years, I feel like diving into The Matrix just feels appropriate. Am I the only one? I feel like...
No, you're right. You're right.
And then we got a super fun one that we've been not really talking on the show about, but to each other, kind of bringing it up. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is quite yet, but it is a perfect segue from The Matrix, and a super fun one that I know Jake and I are going to have a blast with. But next year we got a whole slew of new things coming for you.
Yeah.
Man, good year. This was a fun Movie Boners year.
I agree.
Yeah.
The year of the boners.
That's right. Yes. With a Z.
With a Z. All right. I think that's...
I'm drunk.
Yeah. I think that's all of the housekeeping. I'll let Dustin go have a snack. Did you remember your thing?
No, I remember something you posted that you haven't brought up yet.
Okay.
That you said you were excited about.
All right.
So, a few days ago, a new movie trailer got released for a Netflix original.
Yeah. I did mean to bring this up. I said I would ask you on the show. I asked you listeners to remind me because I knew I would forget.
So, as Jake said, and for those that know me personally, I am a huge New Orleans Saints football team fan. I love that team. They're the team that got me to be a fan of the game and all that. I knew Netflix was making a movie about Sean Payton during the year that he got suspended.
Okay.
And I knew that they cast Kevin James to play Sean Payton.
Yeah. The coach, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sean Payton is the head coach. Sorry. that's me assuming everyone knows.
Normally you hear about players being suspended, so they probably would have assumed that.
True. Okay, so head coach gets suspended for a year. Just look up Bountygate and you'll find out the whole thing. When I found out, one, they were making a movie, I thought, why? And then, two, then I find out that they cast Kevin James and I thought, oh no. And then I forgot about the movie.
Yeah.
And then they released the trailer.
I thought it was going to be a turnaround where you were excited all of a sudden.
Dude, did you watch that trailer?
I did. Yeah, I did. Kevin James looks pretty decent, I thought. I like Kevin James for one thing.
Dude,
maybe that's skewing my... Well, you keep hitting it with your face. That doesn't help.
Stay. Dude, it looked... Okay.
Well, he coaches his kids' team and
football team. So to fill in the time of not being a head coach in the NFL, he decides to be the coach of his son's little league football team.
Yeah.
One, it looks like they have fabricated so much and tried to make this Sean Payton was a terrible absent father because he's a head coach in the NFL. And I'm like, I don't think he was an absent father. His family and him have always been pretty close from what I've learned and seen.
Trying to create some family drama for a family movie.
Right, just to sell not tickets, just to get views.
Subscriptions.
Sure. But the thing that bothered me the most, it felt like a really bad ripoff version of Little Giants.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Do you remember that movie?
Oh, I love Little Giants with Rick Moranis. Great movie.
By the way, go watch Little Giants, folks. It is a great family movie. One of the best.
Yeah. It's like Mighty Ducks with Pee Wee football. It's the best.
And it's so good. And Rick Moranis plays the head coach. Oh my God. Little Giants is fantastic. But this new one, it looked like a poor ripoff of that. Okay. And I was like, it looks so bad.
Yeah.
But
Taylor Lautner's in it.
Oh, dude.
And he looks very serious, still jacked and awkwardly handsome.
I'll give him credit.
Soul patch beard thing going on.
He was wearing a shirt when he was being all super serial. So
in the trailer, at least, yeah.
Yeah. I think what bothers me the most about this movie, is that as horrible as it looks, as annoyed as I was with it, as a Saints fan and a Sean Payton fan, I almost feel like I'm going to end up watching it just because it's associated with the franchise.
That's the most. That's what I assumed would be the case, and most exciting thing about it. I thought,
and I'm so mad about that.
Oh my God! I'm excited to hear what you think about it once it comes out. next year.
The only redeeming thing I think the movie could do is if they have like some good cameos from the actual players.
Yeah,
that would be redeeming for me. But it looks bad. It looks so bad. I'm like, if you're gonna make a movie about NFL controversies or scandals or whatever, there are so many to do.
Right.
Maybe do it better. Like, maybe actually focus on the severity of the scandal. Maybe focus on, like, what this ends up doing to the players' lives or the families. You know.
Or just watch Ballers with The Rock, because that show...
watch Ballers with The Rock.
Is really, really good as far as kind of actually casting light on all of the weird, like, rules and things that they need to work around. Now...
I also find it odd, like, if you're going to pick any controversy or scandal in the NFL, why not focus on all the scandals that revolved around the New England Patriots from years like 2000 to 2000?
That's silly. I don't know why you would do that. There's, if you're going to make a movie, why would you make one other than a triumphant movie about the greatest quarterback of all time, the GOAT?
I'm not taking anything away from TB12, okay? He is, he made it very clear to everyone, and I have a lot of respect for him, that he actually is just that fucking good.
Because
when he went to the Bucks.
There's zero allegiance to Bill Belichick and the Patriots. It's just that wherever he goes, he will always be the best.
He's incredible.
Whether it's Michigan or...
It really bothers me that I have to say that, but I ate a hefty dose of humble pie when he took the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl and won in his first year with them. Hefty dose of humble pie. I think every NFL fan should have done that. But his career, though, with the Patriots... has a lot of controversy and scandal to it. So I feel like there's
a little cloud hanging over.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to try to make an exploitive film about the NFL and all of its like bullshit, to which there's a lot.
There's a lot. It's crazy organization.
Like, go with that, okay? I mean, Sean Payton being suspended for a year. Yeah, it was the Saints' like worst year in a long time. But anyways, it looks terrible.
It's not like he murdered anybody.
Right. Yeah.
Or raped
And
anybody.
by the way, this will sound cliche. I don't care. New Orleans Saints were not the only team doing this. They were just the team that got caught red-handed doing it.
Right.
So they were the ones that were made the example of. Which I'm okay with that happening, but let's face some facts.
Yeah, let's be real.
It's not going to be on the up and up with every organization there is. Have you seen player antics outside of the field or on the field? I'm going on a tangent soon. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. The movie looks like shit.
Football podcast. Apparently, this is NFL boners.
You got me. Okay, I'm kind of drunk. I haven't drank this much beer back to back for a little while. Yeah. At least in this short amount of time. You knew the Saints are going to be a trigger for me.
I did. That's why I brought it up. And I'm glad it worked.
I can't believe I broke this, dude. I'm kind of bummed.
You'll have to figure it out when you're sober another time. I'm sure you can just twist it to tighten it. All right, let's just get out of here before you annoy the listener with your ramblings.
Sorry,
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you listening. We love you. We will see you next year. And check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Let us know your favorite satires. If you can hear me over Dustin's nonsense.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let us know your favorite satires. That's the only other thing that we like to hear from you about.
Yes. Yeah.
And we'll see you next year.
Hey.